Okay, so tonight we're going to be talking this. We're going to be talking FPV. Now, I don't have one of these drones. I'm not a KOL. I'm not one of these people that get sent lots and lots of things for free. I get sent the odd thing for free, but not lots and lots of things. I'm not involved in this launch. Now, I want to talk a bit about the leaks, the videos that we've seen, the unboxing video for those who haven't seen it, which is very interesting in itself. And I want to talk to you guys my thoughts and share my thoughts on this whole thing, because I've been monitoring how this has been coming across for the last couple of weeks, this potential new release and the FPV community's response to it. And I want to talk around that as well. Now, tonight is an interactive. This video, and I'm going to start it here because this video is going to be recorded live but shared as a separate video on the channel. If you're watching on the channel now, there's a whole bit I've cut off because it wasn't working properly, but we're going to move forward from here. Now, tonight is an interactive one as well, guys, so I want to hear your thoughts on this and what you're saying. Now, if you're new here, welcome. Thank you for joining us on the Sunday night stream. I hope you find it interesting. If you do, please do hit that subscribe button. Now, I'm just going to look across at the screen and see what we're saying. No transparencies, yes. Zero drones, how do I connect the side projector to a computer? I've got a projector beamed into my face, yes. Okay, so where are the stats for this as well at the moment? YouTube, let's have a look. Oh my God, we got 33 people. Hello, 33 people. Welcome. That is fantastic. So, let's get on with this video. And we're talking about the DJI FPV, as I've said. And what we're going to talk about is this thing, the leaks, the whole hoo-ha that we have seen in the last 24 hours, because there has been a video leak, there has been a unboxing, we've got specs, we've got everything for this product. So what we're going to do is walk through what those specs are, walk through what we think they are, and then talk about a bit of fluff, the impact that this drone could have on the FPV industry, good and bad. And I'll be interested to know what your thoughts are on this as well. Now, there has been a leaked video over the last couple of days. It came out yesterday. Let me just find it. DJI. Now, the video has been actually taken down. Have you guys seen it? I'll be interested to know first. DJI FPV drone. It's getting some views. He wants to monetize that one because it is flying through at the moment, this one. So let me just put this one up. It is this video here if you guys haven't seen it. And it is an unboxing of the FPV product by a company called Dominion Drones. Now, Dominion Drones are a company in the US that sells them. Now, I can suspect for one moment they are certainly not in DJI's good books right now, because the video was uploaded and then it was taken offline. Now, I'm not going to play the whole video through on the live stream, don't worry, but it goes through to show the unboxing, what you get in the box, which is the FPV drone itself. I'm going to take a sip of my tea, coffee, I should say. And from this video, we can see some interesting things. We can see the object avoidance sensors on the front. You can see the battery. Now, what is really interesting with the battery on this is just how far into the product it goes. It goes literally right inside the product. When you see him eject it, the drone is all battery. It really, really is. You know, he takes it out in a second. Or he's put it back in a sec. He's got the goggles, the V2s. We've seen them before. Then you've got the new FPV remote underneath. Actually, I'll go back on the FPV remote because there's a lot of interesting stuff on this. As you can see, self-centering throttle. Very interesting. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. All of the buttons. A, vent, down the bottom here. So anyway, this video is out there. It's an unboxing of the product, and he takes you through what else is in the box. Yeah, all of that, basically. All of what we would expect to see in an unboxing video. And, you know, it's not hard to believe that this has not gone down well. So let's just talk about what we know first of all, because alongside the unboxing, we've had the spec sheet released. And I'm going to put that up on the display for you guys as well. And I've put, oh, is that not showing properly? That's annoying. Wait there. Oh, that's annoying. It's not actually thinking properly. I'll have to show it like this. You'll have to look at it like that. Why is it not? It's because of the HDMI input. That's a little bit annoying. I'll have to do that one here then as well. Let me do that. I'm going to, if I do that, that should actually show it properly for you guys now. I'm hoping that shows it properly. It looks like it. So we're going to stick it there and go for it. So, and I'll come back to the chat in a minute because I can't see you guys a second when I'm doing this. What I am going to do actually is open up the chat on the laptop as well. So, the spec. We have a drone which is capable of 4K, 60 frames a second onboard recording, or 1080p, 120 frames a second. That is via the main camera on the front. It is a 12 megapixel half-inch sensor with an ISO range of 100 to 3200. Very similar to what we've seen from other DJI drones before. It has a 35mm equivalent lens, which is 14.66 f2.86. We're not going to worry too much about that. And can do MPEG-4, H.264 and H.265, which is HVEC, which means it can do H.265, basically. It has a 150-degree wide field of view with hardware stabilized camera, and we can see from the video that the camera is stabilized vertically. However, it's going to be interesting to see how that actually behaves in the real world. The drone will have multiple flight modes from beginner to advanced, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later. And it also has object avoidance and VPS sensors, and you have the sensors on the front, but you've also got the downward facing VPS sensors on the bottom as well, just like we've seen on many RTF drones from DJI recently. It has all of the usual GPS and all of the other features we've come to expect from modern DJI drones. And I know this, I won't say how I know this, but I do know this, including return to land and recovery. It will have a number of flight modes. My understanding is 3, of which one of them will be an acro style mode. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's out and out acro. However, it is an acro style mode. And we'll talk about that a bit more too. There is going to be a new DJI FPV remote, which we've seen, and I'll put that up in a second. There is also going to potentially be a DJI motion controller. We don't know a lot about that, but that is in the plans. It uses FPV version 2, up to 120 frames a second, 810p, 10 kilometers range, 2.4 to 5 gigahertz. Get that off the way. Has a 6S 2000 milliamp hour battery. And what you can't see on the screen, and I'm going to go back to full, is that it can do 20 minutes flight time, and it weighs, I've got the weight just off the screen at the bottom. What is the weight? The weight is 700 and something grams. I've managed to put the box for it off the screen slightly, so I can't actually read it myself. It's a silly thing to do, isn't it? Where is it? Oh, it's all going wrong. Come on. Get up. Oh, it's fighting me. I can't actually read it on that slide. I've written it at the bottom and I can't see. I'm going to go back. I'm going to come back to the chat now. You're all taking the mickey out of me. 795 grams. You've probably all been shouting that from the chat, haven't you? 795 grams. So that is the basic spec of the drone, or the main spec of the drone. Now, just jumping over the chat. How much, Tony? I want new. I can do 4K 60 on board recording. Yeah, very interesting. 3-blade props as well. Yeah, I haven't mentioned that. Triple blade props. We've seen images of all of them. Just there. Good car texture. And yeah, 795 grams. So what we have here is quite a heavy lump, but it's certainly something interesting. And really, if you look at that spec, it's very similar to, it's not a million miles off what we've seen from the recent Mavic models and things like that. Now, alongside this new drone, let me just move to the next slide and hope it actually works properly this time. We have a new FPV remote controller, which is the version 2 remote. It's not officially labeled the version 2, but that is what it is. It weighs 346 grams, it has 10-kilometer range to go with the drone, and it is compatible with the FPV drone only. Now, my understanding is this remote will not work with the air units. It is both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. It has multiple programmable buttons and a self-centering throttle. Now, that last one is quite interesting because I've seen a lot of comments around that and people saying, I don't know why it's got a self-centering throttle. Why is Why have DJI done that? And we will talk about that as we get a bit more through into some of the reasons why they've done some of these things. Throttle can be adjusted. Yeah, DJI have always allowed that on all their remote controllers. We'll have to see where it ends up, how people accept that in the sense of how it will behave. And you can take the throttle off some of other DJI's remotes. Remember, I stripped the FPV one, and it can be a bit funny at times, but we're going to have to see how well it behaves. I don't know why this has not... wait a minute. I know. That's why it wasn't shearing properly. I was using the wrong button. Right. Looking at the FPV goggles, it uses version 2. So we've used version 2. We know what it's all about. We know what the score is. Very straightforward. Same goggles as the FPV ones. Nothing really major to see here. Now, the first question on this, and this is where it really gets interesting. Where and who is this product for? Because this has been one of the big things I've seen people complain about. Who is this drone designed for? And I've been looking around the FPV community for about 3 or 4 weeks on this, actually. I was meant to be involved in this launch, but I pulled out for various reasons. And one of my interesting concerns with this launch from day one has been, who is it for? And the reality is, if you're flying FPV today, this product is not aimed at you. This product is aimed at Mavic users or people who don't fly drones already, who are interested in getting into it from day one. For current FPV users who build drones themselves, there is a lot of people who will buy one of these. I can tell you now, there's a lot of people saying, I won't buy one of these, I don't want one of these, but they will get one. But this product is marketed as an entry into FPV. That's who it's for. It's for people getting into it on day one. It has these flight modes from very simple right through to an all-out acro mode with fail safes behind them, because the interesting thing about this product is it brings a lot of DJI's technology that hasn't been there in FPV before. DJI's fail-safe systems, the backup systems, the things that we haven't seen done before in FPV. Okay, you can add GPS to Betaflight and iNav, but it works terrible. What you'll have is a way of recovering very, very easily on this drone. But I'm not saying FPV users won't want to fly this, because I actually think a lot of them will. But it is interesting to see the community's kickback on this, saying, what are DJI doing? Why would I want to buy one of these? The reality is, it is a turnkey, out-the-box solution using all of DJI's experience and all of DJI's tech and bringing that to FPV. It's not a race quad. It's not a quad for freestyle. It's not a quad for any specific purpose. It is an FPV drone, unlike we've seen from a ready-to-fly manufacturer before. And whilst I know many people make FPV off-the-shelf drones, Betaflight is not easy to learn with on day one. There is basically no protections, very little fail-safes, and it is very easy to lose or damage a drone quickly. And what DJI will do is produce a product that on day one, you can put in a really simple basic mode, and within a few hours, move up through those modes to this acro style mode. Now, just looking across at the chat, I think I saw Dobo's here somewhere. Hello. I believe he's flown it, because there's a few in the US at the moment. JB is fuming. Possibly filmmakers of art. So this is stabilized FPV camera drone. Yeah, so it is interesting. Now, you're going to see a lot of kickback from the FPV community on this. A huge amount of people are going to go, this is terrible, this is the worst thing in the world. The reality is, if you've got... I didn't get mine to hand, but if you've got one, probably not for you, but you might want to buy one anyway. So, that is the first thing. Now, let's talk about the good on this product. What is going to be good about this new drone from DJI? Well, the good is going to be DJI's experience building turnkey solutions. Building a drone that out the box just works. It will fly great. There will be no issues with the way this thing flies. It will be tuned very, very well. It will fly just like a Mavic in its GPS modes, but it will let you take the reins off and let you take it out and fly into that acro with some warnings. I believe there will be some warnings in place, but there will be a lot to like here. You have DJI's object avoidance sensors, their visual positioning sensors, which means it will hover in place, their GPS, their compass sensors, everything DJI have done so well over the last 3 to 5 years. Everything that they have had, all the experience on problems. You know, DJI have a reputation for drones flying away. They haven't had drones fly away for 4 or 5 years. So what they will bring is all that experience from those models into an FPV drone, and it will make a product unlike we have seen before. So it will be massively stable. It will fly very, very well. It will be super easy to use out of the box. It will just work. However, there are some downsides to that as well, and we'll talk about them in a minute. So, you know, the benefits to this will be you will be able to walk into a shop, pick the drone up off the shelf, charge it, and within 2 hours of flying, be proficient in flying FPV. I'm not saying you'll be able to go up and do flips, but you will be proficient. And what you will then have is DJI's fail-safe systems to pull you out of the crap should something go wrong. So should you accidentally do something silly, should you accidentally think, oh my god, I'm about to hit a tree, you'll be able to hit a button and it will just recover for the most part, not every situation, and then you will have that DJI failsafe, the return to home. You know, we all spend big money on our FPV drones now. They're all expensive, especially when they've got air units in them. They all cost a lot of money, and we all want them back, even if something goes wrong. You want to be able to get it back. And whilst there's been a reluctance in beta flight to put GPS recovery in that works very well, it's a reality. It should be a must these days when it comes to not losing that product that you've spent lots of money on. So you are going to see a lot of good in this product. You really are. What's your thoughts? I'm going to check the chat and see what people's thoughts are on the good on this. Let me just move that over to the side and move that there so it's more in my correct eye line. Changing your FPV drone to China. Yeah. Wolf, 100 quid battery pack. Yeah, we'll come on to that. That's in my negatives. For your mind, people. 5 weeks out, I think. Real lag. Right, lag on the stream, is it? These extra batteries will hit your pocket. If there's lag on the stream, sorry about that. I'll check my wife isn't doing anything. Yeah. If she is, I'll just tell her to get off if there is any lag. Just sent that. Okay, so yeah, that's the good. You know, there's going to be a lot to like here. There really is going to be a lot to like. Leg, not lag. I read it. The monitor's a little bit far out. So there's going to be a lot to like here on the good side. However, as I was saying just now, there's bad, and the bad is going to be there. Now, what will that bad be? Well, the bad is going to be that you're going to have proprietary batteries. There is no question about it. Let's look at that image. That is not a standard LiPo. That is a proprietary DJI smart battery, and that is what you're going to be paying for on this product. Let me just turn that. I haven't got the chat on this window, have I? No, that should be on there. Sorry about that. It's going to have a proprietary battery, which is going to cost anywhere in the region of $80 to $160. Now, take into account battery prices, okay? This is a 6S pack, about 40 odd watt hour. Half the size of a battery on an Inspire 2. They're about $170 each. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility. These batteries are going to be around $100. That's just going to be a reality. Outside of the batteries, there is going to be NFC. There is likely to be geofencing. It is going to have all of that stuff we've come to expect from DJI's ready-to-fly models. Now, I just want to be clear on that. I am not sure 100% on NFC or geofencing. However, I do not see DJI selling a product without it. I simply do not see that happening. So you're going to have those issues. We've got a proprietary battery, we've got geofencing, NFC, and remote ID. You then have repairability and cost of repairs. Now, my understanding with this product is going to be that there is going to be parts available, but not everything. You will be able to replace certain parts on this, but because this product is such an integrated product, repair is difficult. It's that same problem that you have with many integrated products these days. Mobile phones, laptops, anything that is heavily integrated makes repairability more difficult. Now, if you're a fan of Louis Rossmann and you watch about his Right to Repair campaign, you know things can be repaired, but the reality is even the arguments Louis Rossmann has is around repair centers, skilled, highly skilled people being able to get parts. You and me would be maybe able to do it, but the average user might not. So repairability is always going to be a difficult one on a product like this. So we have the good, which is the DJI technology, and the bad, which is you're entering a walled garden, just like you were with DJI's other products. Just like they've been with the Mavics and the Phantoms. It's going to be interesting. Now, one of the fun comments I saw a user have was say, will it have the ability to grow arms? Because it's probably going to need it. And it is an interesting point. Bruce, I've made a fortune invested in duct tape. I bet you have. Plenty of DJIs found that used to spending this money and more. We'll talk about price in a minute. Because I don't think price is a problem on this. I think people are getting a bit hung up on price, and it really isn't. Yeah, and that's going to be one of the downsides. So, you know, the benefits of this product is having a heavily integrated product with lots of features, but the downside is going to be repairability. Now, this is an interesting one. This question is, what impact will this product have on the FPV community? And this is where things get very interesting, because this is where a lot of the comments go out the windows, and where people start, you know, DJI's bad, DJI's good, I don't want this, why would I want this? Now, this product is going to do what the Phantom did for normal drones. Up until the point of the Phantom, pretty much everything was build yourself. There was very few off-the-shelf drones at this time. And we are very much in that situation with FPV right now. Yes, you can buy off-the-shelf pre-built FPV drones, but they're not really consumer ready-to-fly products. The companies that are manufacturing these, for the most part, are just taking parts and bolting together, just like people were with F450s and putting flight controllers on them. That's pretty much where things are today. Yes, there's the odd one here and there, but for the most part, all of the off-the-shelf stuff is just a self-build, pre-assembled for you. And this is where DJI make the big step here, because what they're doing in the FPV world is what they did in standard drones. They created a turnkey solution which was heavily integrated, and it's going to bring more people into FPV than we have ever seen before. It is going to smash the doors open for FPV more than we've ever seen. Now, that can be argued as a good thing or a bad thing, but we'll have to see how that actually goes. So this is going to have a dramatic effect on the FPV community, but there's going to be some upsides. You're going to see a massive surge in new users who move on from DJI FPV into drone racing and other, you know, they're basically lowering the barrier of entry for FPV people. And that is a good thing. and it will mean the people who don't want to buy off the shelf, don't want to assemble themselves, will be able to buy a product that won't put them off in the first 2 hours. Look, if you go out and buy, if you've never flown a quad before today, and you went out and even bought one of the off-the-shelf ready-to-fly drones with Betaflight and took it in the field, you're barely going to get it flying. If you did manage to, and you didn't manage to lose it, the chances of you enjoying it are fairly low. I think, it's that initial experience that puts so many people off. But what DJI will get so right here is making people learn to fly in a stepped way and move through it and progress through it in such a way that they don't feel like they've wasted their money, or they don't feel like that they're at risk of losing their investment. Because it's very easy to buy a brand new product and you've got all that excitement, and then you take it out for the first time and something goes wrong, and many people just put them away from it. And this is where this will enhance the FPV community massively. Just going to open the chat up. I wish it was bigger. I need to be able to see that bigger. Spider Monkey will be used for commercial shoots. Yeah. It's going to be used heavily in commercial shoots. No patience on FPV. I'll talk a little bit about that at the end, the KOLs, because I'm not one of them. And I'm not saying nothing bad about them, but I will talk a little bit about that. Yeah, and that's an interesting point Bruce has made there. What percentage of buyers will never progress past self-leveling mode after trying rate mode and scaring themselves? What percentage of buyers never fly again? And that's the interesting point. And to be fair, Betaflight could have done something about this before now, and all of the flight stacks could have. They're not laying it just at Betaflight. All of them suffer from this same problem. Betaflight, iNav, ArdraPilot, PX4. The learning curve is insane out the door for these products. The learning curve is virtually vertical from day one, if you've never touched it before, and if you don't know anyone who can help you. And I'll be honest, right? The best way to start is JB. JB has so many great videos. He would take you through it all, but you've got to be willing to put that time in as well. But that is the big problem, is that step on day one is that vertical issues out the door, and so many people will get scared off. What else? It's interesting, and that is where DJI win. It's where they've always won, and it's where they've always picked up people, is turnkey solution. Just reading the chat a second, guys. 58 people. Hello, everyone. Just catching up on the chat a second. Can't believe I've got 58 of you here tonight. It's a good day. Probably will use stabilize mode, acro trainer mode. Oh, bro, you're killing me. What's Rob up to? You can take it. Yeah, and I agree with that, JB, because a lot of people are sitting here saying, I won't want that. They will be astonished at how easy and how well this flies. I've never flown this, but I can tell you it will, because I know DJI and I know what they're like. This will work very, very well. What puts people off is DJI ready to fly, but it will fly. Oh, thank you, All About Drones. I appreciate that. It will fly very, very well. There is zero questions, and there will be a lot to have here. A lot of people eating their words, as JB has said. Yeah, the assumptions will be this will be a Mavic with an FPV camera. That's what people's assumptions are, and it isn't. Yeah, I know that for a fact. I know that one for a fact. Okay, so the problems. What problems will this create for the FPV community? Well, it's going to bring a lot of people in very, very quickly. You're going to see groups explode. You're going to see craft everywhere. You're going to see more focus on this than ever before. More focus on FPV than we've seen in the past. It is going to bring a lot of attention overnight, just like ready-to-fly drones did. Whereas the FPV community has sort of been able to slice itself off on the side and sort of say, yeah, we're this FPV community, we know what we're doing. You know, you've had that in the UK, you've had that in the US. You're suddenly going to see a mass onslaught of both new users and Mavic users, unlike you've seen before. And with that will be problems. You will have aircrafts landing in gardens. You'll have aircrafts going into roofs, into trees, ending up in places they shouldn't. It is going to bring a huge amount of attention into FPV that we've not seen before. So that is a potential downside. But you have to weigh the good with the bad. But it is going to have an effect. Now time just to buy stock in all those freestyle drone companies, eh? Yes, that's for sure. Now this next one is where I think it gets very interesting. What impact will this drone have on DJI? Because this could be very big. Now, this is going to be both good and bad. This will push DJI into new segments of the market they've not been in before. It will give them a whole new community of people to sell to communicate with, to build a base of product around. You have to remember with DJI, they don't just sell products, they build communities of products. This won't be the first. The only one. It will be the first, but it won't be the last. They are going to build a community of these. You're going to see smaller ones, maybe bigger ones. You're going to see different types of drones if this takes off. However, this is unlike any other product DJI have sold for a few main reasons. Number one here, they are selling a product that has its main flight characteristics. The way you fly it is pretty much illegal in most countries. Now, what I mean by that is this. Most DJI ready-to-fly drones have a remote controller with a little screen, and you're flying on that, and you're looking at the drone flying at the screen. FPV on its own is illegal in most countries without a spotter. DJI have never out and sold a product that basically required FPV to be able to use it. This is the first ready-to-fly drone that does that. So this is uncharted water for DJI. Yes, they've sold products for years with 10 kilometers range, 8 kilometers range, 5, 6. We all know that's illegal, but that's on the box. But this time, to be able to use this product, you basically have to have a spotter. And it is going to be interesting to see how they market that to the community and the drone industry as a whole. Because for the most part, this product requires a spotter to use it legally in most countries. And it's the first time we've had a drone from DJI that has that out the box. That's for the most part. The second issue, and this is the big one, and this is where we touched on earlier with repairability, is what effect this is going to have on DJI's customer service as well as their reputation as well. All of DJI's drones up to this point have had their fail-safes, their safety nets, even in the models that had ATTI, attitude mode. And remember, DJI have been taking away these modes on more recent models because they had problems. You know, the only models that ship today with ATTI is the Phantom 4 and the Inspire 2. The Mavic series don't have it. It's not there. They removed it from those models because they were afraid of what those users would do with attitude mode. You can't put those models into attitude mode unless you hack the firmware. So DJI have actively, over time, removed modes that added a level of risk for users. They're now introducing this acro mode. So we're suddenly going from a position of this walled garden in products where you can't really do too much harm. The worst thing you do on a modern DJI drone is fly it into a wall, and it's got sensors to stop it doing that for the most part anyway. Whereas now they're selling a product that you're going to have a switch where you can put it into acro. And it has been a very, very long time since they've had to deal with the customer service issues around that. And that is going to have an impact. And this could really cause them some problems. If this drone says very, very well, sells very, very well, it could cripple their customer service overnight if people start screwing it into the ground, because we all know this thing is going to get crashed. No matter how well DJI put protections in place, put fail-safes, return to homes, recovery options, some are going to cause a problem. Some are going to smash it into the ground. You then have the inevitable problem of warranty. Now, my understanding will be that there will be some reminders or warnings before entering this acro mode, is the whispers I've heard, and that will basically say there's no warranty if you smash it up in that mode. But that doesn't mean people won't complain. People won't send it in. Even if people want to pay to repair, it's still going to overwhelm their customer service. So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle this, because I will be blatantly honest. The things I know, they are not in the greatest of shape from that point of view right now. I'm not talking about repairing products, but having support online and things like that. They're not in the best possible position for this. So this could really, really cripple them from that side of things. And it could hurt their reputation through no actual fault of their own. And I will add that as well. Phantoms crash, but you've got to take into account most people aren't flying an ATTI. The difference really with this FPV quad from my point of view is that is the aim of this drone, is to get people to that level of flight capability. So you'll be able to fly in stabilized GPS, and then you'll get towards this acro style mode. Now, it will be interesting to see how off the range DJI let it. Are we talking a mode which is more like horizontal mode, where you just have, beyond a certain point on the sticks, it'll flip, but if you leave the stick go, it will go straight back to GPS? Is it going to be a combined sort of acro and GPS mode, that when you're on the stick, off center, say, it behaves in acro mode, and then when you return the sticks to center, it jumps back into the protection modes? Or is it going to be flicker button acro and you're all in? How much protection is DJI going to be in place? It's going to be interesting how this is. And you got to then take into account the reputational damage there will be from users smashing this up very early in its life. I've seen it with Mavics. I've seen it with Phantoms. I was involved in helping run some of the Facebook groups, and the amount of posts you'd see with, I've just got my drone and it's flown away. Now, the reality of those posts was it didn't just fly away. There is often a difference, and this is how I used to word it actually, to people themselves who just lost a $500, $600, $700 drone. There's often a difference in how you expect it to behave and how it's actually designed to behave. And they are often very, very far apart. The product hasn't necessarily done something wrong. It's just not done what you expected it to do. And we're going to have that same behavior with this drone. So it is going to be interesting to see what impact it has on DJI. Positive is that it is going to help them sell more products than it's ever had before, but I do think it has the potential to be a real headache for them from a legislative point of view, with them going to places where they shouldn't. As All About Drones just said, 10 kilometers range, and all of the other potential issues with customer services. Because at the end of the day, if someone buys a product and they smash it up on the first flight, they're going to blame the manufacturer, regardless what happens. Now, that's the interesting element of this whole thing, is how it's going to be perceived. Now, I'll come on to the questions in a minute, or I'm going to read through the chat in a second. Now, from my understanding, talking about price on this, because price has been an interesting subject, my understanding this is going to be around $1,300. That was the sort of ballpark I'd heard. It's heavily dependent on tariffs in countries, in the US and VAT and all of that stuff. Now, a lot of people have said that that's too expensive. That's going to cost way too much money. However, the reality is it's not that bad when you add up an off-the-shelf ready-to-fly drone, the cost of FPV goggles, and a remote controller. I don't think the price is unrealistic, if I'm honest. $1,300 to $1,400. It's on the upper end. The batteries are what is going to cripple people. If you're going to spend $300 on 3 packs, that's going to put a lot of current FPV users off. However, for the price of the drone itself, I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue for many people. The target market here isn't bargain basement drone flyers. It is people with money to burn who are interested in getting into cinematic FPV, having a drone for business use, or have money burning a hole in their pocket because they can't buy a graphics card and are interested in seeing what FPV is like. Price is in the eye of the beholder. I honestly don't think $1,300 or $1,400 is unrealistic based on a set of goggles. HDO2s are expensive in themselves. Add on top of that what you're going to be getting, it won't be that bad. It won't be that bad. But that's really my main thoughts on this and where I think it gets interesting. Now, I'm going to go back and talk a bit about the spec now I've got that, because that wasn't working properly earlier. It's still not working properly. And then we're going to catch up on the... It's really frustrating when these things play up. It really is. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to have to change the size of the text slightly. Don't you love it when things bite you? Oh, 15. There. That should have been like that. Hey, I fixed it now. It's working now. Okay. Checking on the chat. Don't have a built-in airbag. Don't mention new regulations. Bruce, yes, behave. I'm just going to move the mic forward so I can read the chat properly. And leaning in so I can see it. Does it have a built-in airbag? No, unfortunately not, Steve. Tilting the camera. Yeah, that's going to be a really cool feature, actually. That is going to be a very, very cool feature. Being able to tilt the camera up and down. Has it got blockchain? It should have blockchain. It should have Bruce chain. I've been mining today, funnily enough. Type all about drones. Steve Mann, Acro mode available after 100 hours flight time. Yeah, no in DJI. Let me just put the spec back up. The spec is decent on this product. There's no question. Look, let's not pretend this spec isn't really a drone from 2 years ago. Mavic has this spec. There's nothing special here. We've got 4K 60 on board. Very nice. We don't know the bitrate on that, though. Will that look as good as a GoPro? That's an interesting point to make as well, how that is going to look. Is there image stabilization involved? We don't know yet. Software image stabilization. 1080p, 120, nice, but that's been really poor on previous models from DJI, so I'd like to see how well it looks on this product. Let me just find something. I can put myself up there. Look, hey, the 150-degree wild field of view is quite nice. That is nice stuff as well. We like that kind of stuff. 795 grams, not terrible, but it's a big old battery. When you do watch that video, it is a massive old battery. It's got the object avoidance, nice features. There's some really nice, interesting stuff there. And again, this 10-kilometer range, this 10K range is huge. Okay, floor flyer. That's an interesting point. That let me bring that back up. So the USB output. My understanding is it works on both drones and FPV with the app, but I've not tested it. It could change knowing DJI. Having a move camera is going to change the flight feel unless it retains the same position when flying aggressively. The other thing is to take into account with that moving camera, you might be able to lock it in place. So it could be as simple as having the adjustment control for it to be able to just keep it there. Not stabilized, but just remain in place. So there's going to be some cool stuff around that as well. Well, 10K, if you ignore the 400-foot regulations, that's a lot of range. It is a massive amount of range. It really, really is. I'm just going to turn my heater back on. 1 second. You know, taking a look at the video today, I'm going to bring that back up, actually, because it was very interesting. Oh, I've ended up on a JB video. Look at that. Just to share the desktop again. Let's go to the desktop. You know, if we just look through some of the interesting bits, he struggled to get. I don't want to comment too much on the unboxing because there's some things I want to just. I don't want to say. You know, we look at the back. It's the underneath. The underneath is very interesting. So see here, what we have is 2 downward-facing object sensors, 2 TOF sensors, which DJI use for close range sensing, as well as the LED light. So all of this is part of the downward-facing vision positioning system that we've come to expect on the recent DJI models. And you can see the battery comes right in the bottom here, right inside the drone. It is huge. Now, obviously, you've got the 2 sensors on the front, and you've got the camera, which is there, which is only stabilized one way. And to me, the SD cards are located under this little flap here. Just so you know, I couldn't see anywhere else. I reckon that's where the SD card is in the bind button and some things like that. Probably USB port as well. And then you've got the ear hole at the top for the airflow, and then the battery going through with the heatsink. Now, when we skip through, let me have a look to the part where does he take the battery out the drone. Here we go. You know, you do realize how big it is when you do take the battery out. It is massive, absolutely huge. You know, when you watch this bit, he presses the buttons in and it slides out the back. You know, look how much of that drone is empty now. I'm trying to pause it at the right spot. Look, it goes right back into that frame. It is enormous. Absolutely an enormous part of that product. And then you got this new connector. I'm not sure how I feel about this connector. Actually, it's something I wanted to mention. I'm really not sure how I feel about that new connector. I'm really not happy with that. I think it could have been a lot better. That nose again batch. Yeah, it could go straight through the front of it. Be strong enough. Do I think the USB ports will be strong enough for me? I have personally never broke a DJI USB port. That I will say. Someone else has, but I haven't. I don't break DJI USB ports. Right, why is my Stream Deck not working? Anyone know why my Stream Deck isn't working? It's weird, isn't it? Weird. Very strange. I wonder why that's the case. Sorry, I was just changing the settings. I've got a little app on my Stream Deck that shows me how many people are watching, and it's not working. It's not showing. Let me just go back up. I've got 90 people. 90! My God! Well, welcome 90 of you to the stream. Let me just get back to where I was. Here are we there, and we get the chat back up. All drones, 92 of us. 92 of you. Yeah, it's definitely not working. Why is don't you love live streaming? The problems with live streaming, always something goes wrong. So, you know, that overall is my thoughts. I think, you know, if I summarize what my thoughts are, this is going to be one of the most talked about and interesting products of the last few years. It is going to be game-changing. It is going to fly very well. The people who say, I won't buy this, it's not for FPV, will probably Some of them eat their words and go out and buy it. It will appeal to many segments, but it isn't perfect. It is going to have a proprietary battery system. It is going to be expensive. It is going to have issues around getting parts availability, getting them fixed. It is a consumer electronic product. That is the way to treat this. Shady's asked, is it Betaflight? I would not expect it to be anything but DJI's own internal flight controller, as they've used on many of their own drones before. When do I think it will be released? Well, I can't actually answer that because I actually know the answer to that question. Let me just count some weeks. 1, 2, within the next 3. The rumours are early March, and I'm not saying that's going to be wrong. No, I don't have one, and I won't have one for launch, because I've sort of stepped away from some of that stuff. I will be buying one. That I 100% will be doing. Base flight, Steve. Yeah. How long before the police crash? Well, that's a very funny comment, Bob. Bob Boo. Yeah, very good. Yeah. It is going to be interesting. Now, some questions that I see keep coming up. Okay, this remote controller. Where's the slides? Where's the image of that? You know, I keep seeing people ask about this. It is not compatible with FPV as far as I know. Don't get your hopes up. It won't work. It won't work. As Bodo said earlier, you can adjust the throttle. How well that will work, I don't know, but you can do that on all the DJI remotes, which would be cool. Might clear UK customs by September. It'll be interesting to see how we get on the UK, because you still can't order the V2 goggles in the UK right now. We're still out of the loop for that. Now, I'm not going to order a set of V2s because there's going to be a set of V2s in this box. Released in the UK will lockdown releases, yeah. So I'm going to be ordering the kit, because I don't know how they're going to be selling this. But on the remote controller side of things, it's not going to be compatible with FPV. I keep seeing people ask about whether the V1s, so these, will have compatibility with the iPhone app. Sorry, it's probably not going to happen. A lot of nice buttons on top of the remote controller. You do. And if you noticed, let's bring that back up, actually, because that raises a good point. Those buttons, 2 sides are switches. Right, where was he doing it again? Let me just go back. That was the goggles. I think it was here on this part. He got the remote back up. So obviously there's somewhere to store the sticks in the bottom of the remote controller, which is cool. Down here, you see him pull them out from inside there. There you go, look. So that's cool. We like that a lot. I like that design, DJI. Very nicely done. We have a USB-C connector down here. No other USB ports on the remote. So the chances are it's not going to have a smartphone tablet connection. So yes, nicely machined. Very nice. Be interested to know if it's Hall or standard gimbals. I'll tell you once I break it and take it apart. Get through that. And then you see on the top, like, these seem to be rocker switches on either side. So you got the USB-C. It must have been in the first bit where he looked at the remote. This one here. So what we've got is we've got a rotary dial. We've got what appears to be a double button as well. That's a very large button, that one there. Okay. Very large indeed. I think that's a double rocker, top and bottom. I could be wrong, but it just looks like a double rocker. It might just be a single button. You've got none on the back, no C buttons that I can see. But did you notice that then? There's 2 little arrows there. Now, I'm guessing that's where you pull it back and adjust the sticks like they've done on the other remotes. But you've got like a little arrow there and a little arrow there, which denote probably the rubber peels back and you adjust the stick tension on the remote controller. We've then got this button here, button there. We'll just bring it around. And if you watch these 2 switches, they look to be rockers from what I've seen him move them. And they seem to stay in those positions. So that's here now. So it sits in it. Yeah. Antenna moves up and down. So, you know, that could be like a flight mode switch. It didn't show if that other one was a rocker as well, though, which is interesting. It didn't show that, but lots of nice buttons and switches on there for sure. Oh, it's a Tango 2. The weight kills it for me. It is heavy. It is real heavy. Like the short sticks. Right, on XJet, what's he said now? Be careful with the flat flex cable. Yes, yes, yes. Jumper T16 remote will be compatible. Not as far as I understand, the remote will not be compatible with DJI FPV. Technically, there's no reason it can't, but my understanding is no. But I could be wrong on that. That was what thing. Bluetooth connection to smartphone. Unlikely. I think the phone is going to be connected to the goggles. That hasn't been published all about drones. The belief is over 90 miles an hour. Okay, I'll say some stuff on the air units, which is a bit controversial. I'm really annoyed my Stream Deck isn't working. Let me change it to that. And change it to that. Change it to that. Let's see if my Stream Deck is not behaving. Really annoying. Hey, we've got it working now. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. Damn sufficient attitude and they reach 90 miles an hour. Okay, so DJI. I hit the mic. Don't want to do that. DJI FPV. What do I think the future is for DJI FPV? Well, this is a bit pessimistic, if I'm honest. And I'm going to take you guys down a little bit of a history lesson here. DJI have a reputation. No, sorry, that's not the right words to use. DJI have a history of making products standalone, then integrating them into their system. When this system first came out, people used to say this is the first version of FPV. It really isn't. This is like the 8th version of their FPV. DJI originally developed Lightbridge, standalone Lightbridge, which is their standalone video transmission system. It was a model, that part that went on the drone, and you had this ground station which used to have to plug your remote controller in and a monitor, really big, and that was known as Lightbridge 1. Then, after a short period of time, they refined that and integrated it into their first ready-to-fly drones of the time. Now, we had the early Phantoms that used Wi-Fi, the FC40, and then the Phantom 3 Pro. But before that, the Inspire 1 was the first drone to introduce Lightbridge, and it's called Lightbridge 1.5. It's sort of improved 720p video transmission, couple of miles range, 2 miles range, whatever it was. That was Lightbridge 1.5. So you had Lightbridge 1 standalone, and then they integrated that into their digital drone, and you had Lightbridge 1.5. They then continued to improve that. So you had Lightbridge 2 then, which was integrated as a standalone product first of all. So Lightbridge 2 came along, and they sold it then as part of the M600 package, but before that it was a standalone device. They then integrated that into the Inspire 2 and the Phantom 4 Pro version 2. Then they developed their first FPV system, which was their original FPV goggles. Now, OcuSync, first of all, came with the Mavic. Then they had OcuSync 1.5, which was lower latency, and then got into the OcuSync Air system. They then integrated that and made it better and developed OcuSync 2 that we have in the DJI ready-to-fly drones today. Massive range, massive improvements, overall a much better product. Now, I do have a dedicated video on this, which is a little bit out of date, and I'm going to be making a new one on this in the near future as well, actually going through every version, because what you have is Lightbridge 1, Lightbridge 1.5, Lightbridge 2, Lightbridge 2.5, because technically the Inspire 2 is actually Lightbridge 2.5, not Lightbridge 2, because it's dual band. But then you have OcuSync 1, which is in the Mavic Pro. Now they then developed this, which is their digital FPV system. This was groundbreaking. This was the first low latency digital system that hit the market that really worked. I had this as a pre-release, and I remember talking to people about it, and people about saying about digitals come in, and they were going, "No, it'll never be good enough." then when this landed, it changed the game. I'm not saying the latency was not noticeable, but it was good enough, and that's where this system ended. What did they go and do with it? They've now gone and integrated that into their latest ready-to-fly product. Now, the question was, where do I think all of this leads for the future of the standalone FPV system? Well, this really is an interesting question, because if this new drone sells well, the standalone FPV system will simply not be a priority. I'm not saying it will end, but I will put this out there now that, in my opinion, I would not expect to see massive improvements or changes to the FPV system for quite some time, and whether there will be much improvement in it in the future. I'm not going to say dropped, I'm not going to say end, they'll probably keep it running, but the reality is DJI is a company that makes products for a consumer market. And if that market buys lots of ready-to-fly drones, they'll simply look at the standalone market and say, why are we bothering with that? It's not worth it. DJI no longer sell the NASA 2. They no longer make the A2 or A3 flight controllers. They no longer sell ESCs that they make themselves. They no longer sell motor kits. DJI had some of the best drone propulsion systems there was. I have a number of them here. They are very, very good. If you've used DJI kits, I've got over there on the 2312s, which was, I've actually forgotten the model numbers. The E300, the E310 motor series, had to think then, got it back, got it there. E310, E300, E600. DJI was very big into the propulsion. However, you've got to take into account, whenever they've moved into more integrated products, the standalone stuff has fallen to the wayside. And I'm not saying that will happen overnight with FPV, but if it sells very well, I wouldn't be counting on it being a major market driver for the future. I can see Vision 2 units that work with the new goggles. Vision 2s, yeah, probably at some point we'll see dual band. They'll be in no rush, but we'll see it at some point. New unit has a camera and recording and compatible with GoPro. Look, you've got to take into account the FPV team will not be the same team as the FPV drone. Okay, so they'll be separate teams. So those guys will be working on one thing, those guys will be working on another. What will be interesting is how well this drone sells. If it sells very, very well, that little standalone FPV market, they won't really be that interested in. And this is history. They have done it before. Flight controllers, motor kits. Just look at the FPV goggles, the OcuSync Air system. It didn't last that long. In some ways, it was much better than this. The fact it had head tracking was a big benefit on the first one. It worked with Mavlink out the door. But we will have to see where time goes on. Selling air units and goggles on their own to a limited size community isn't DJI's business model. Their business model is selling large number of products to the masses, and that's where this ready-to-fly drone comes in. It really, really is. But some of this pessimistic talk is years down the line. You know, you've got to take that into account. This isn't next year. This is 3 years down the line. If this FPV drone, you know, if we look at where this could end up, okay, so they make this ready-to-fly drone, it sells well. They then make another one, a version 2. We know there's going to be a version 2. It is inevitable there will be a version 2 Black Pro Edition. Look at DJI's naming. You know, it's inevitable, okay? There'll be a version 2 in a year from now, okay? The version 2 will probably have image stabilization if this model doesn't. You know what? I'll lay out in this video now what the version 2 will have. It'll have rock steady image stabilization if this one doesn't have it. If it has, obviously it won't. It will be smaller. It will be lighter. It will have improved flight time and a better camera and a couple of other tweaks. That's about it. That's the version 2 there for you. We're talking about the version 2 before we even got the version 1. There'll be a smaller one. There'll be an FPV. If this market blows up, they will want many products in the segment. And if that happens, then the standalone system simply becomes a pet project on the side, and there's a point where DJI have a reputation of dumping products. They just go. I can list Crystal Sky, OcuSync Air System, flight controllers, motor systems, ESCs, FPV goggles, standard goggles, FPV for their current products. There's no FPV today for their current product. So this is not the first time. Here and now, though, as Bruce has said, we would see air units probably in the next 6 months, dual band, and we'll see what happens from there. Okay, so just reading in the chat. Best of both worlds, Steve. Yeah, very much so. We'll need to be 4K to compete. Yeah, upgraded camera. More cameras would be nice. The lack of development on the air unit tells you a lot already. It really does. It really does. Just reading up through the comments. If there's any questions, guys, please do put them in. For the 100 odd of you who are here, I'll do a bit of shilling while we're on this bit. Welcome to you all. I hope you are safe and well. Wherever you are in the world, please do consider subscribing to the channel if you've not been here before. If you've just jumped in, we've been talking about the DJI FPV. Didn't quite get through that as well as I'd liked. I was going to put this video up. I had the problems with the slides, which hasn't gone well. What would be the benefit of dual band? Yeah, you know, if we're getting 10K, is, you know, out and out 10K. Show us the chair. There's the chair just for Bruce. There's the chair. Seems like black and white now. 10K, 1080p seems like black and white. Okay, 114. Sure, for the Sunday vote, that's a very good amount of people for a Sunday. That is a very, very good. Still missing the 100 thumbs up. Yeah, please give us a thumbs up and a like and a share. So really, you know, from the FPV, that's my thoughts on that. I want to be careful. I don't want to say too much about that video. I think we can all make our comments on the guy who did the unboxing or the knowledge. It didn't come across if he was used to FPV product, I'll say. I can't imagine that dealer is in any great position with DJI right now. I can imagine they are very upset, to say the least. I've been involved in launches before, and I know how serious they take these things. And this is like the third launch that's gone horribly wrong. Look, you know, I'll be blunt. The launch of these products has been horrible. The FPV goggles launch was horrible. There's no other word to use. It was a mess. This product has fallen out the door in so many different ways. It's not good. It really isn't good. You know, the last 3 or 4 releases DJI have had, they've really struggled to keep them under the wraps. You know, I remember the Mavic launch. Literally nothing leaked on that until the day of it. The next thing, really, I suppose I should talk about is the KOLs, as I said I would at the beginning. And, you know, the likes of JB, Joshua Bardwell, Nerf FPV, these guys are fantastic. You know, let's be clear. These guys, you know, I'm a massive fan of JB. His channel has helped me so much, just like Bruce's has over the years. You know, these guys have helped bring so many people in. You know, they are going to be KOLs in this. What I will say is this. The guys who had the V2s at pre-release, I believe, had the drones, is what I would say. I don't believe anyone was really sent the V2 goggles for launch, because it was pointless. My understanding will be if anyone has shown they had the V2s on launch day or talked that they've had them, then they have the drone as well. They'll have both. That's where I would say you'd aim. It is going to be really interesting to see how these guys handle this, because you've got this community element right now that there's a massive amount of hate towards this product in the community for no good reason. And I will say this, they haven't tried it, they haven't seen it, yet they don't want it. And it's going to be interesting to see how the community reacts to these KOLs giving their opinion. Now, when the reviews of this come out, I'll tell you how this works. Some of these reviews will be paid, some of them won't. I've never done a paid review for DJI. I'll be clear on that. I've reviewed products, never been paid. Some of these reviews will be sponsored, some of them will be paid. So what you want to do is dig into the wording slightly of how it's said at the start. But at the end of the day, it's going to be interesting to see how the community reacts. Because, you know, we've got JB who will give his opinion. You know, he's genuinely very straightforward on what his opinion is. You know, he didn't sell Fat Shark Bite very well. You know, he didn't out and out say it's fantastic, even though he was tied to Rotor Riot, which is tied to Red Cat. So to be fair to JB, he will say what he thinks. I think he'll give an open and honest opinion on it 100%. But if that open and honest opinion is what it sounds like and he likes it, it's going to be interesting to see how the community reacts to that, because JB may give a completely honest opinion, but people might not like it because it's DJI. So it's going to be interesting to see how that element. Nerf is another one. He has one, I believe. So, you know, you're going to see a lot of content from these guys. You won't be seeing it from me, put it that way. You'll see some, but if this launch goes the way I expect it to, the US will get some product long before I will in Europe. You know, I have put money aside to buy this on day one, but the last 2 or 3 releases from DJI have been delayed in the UK and Europe, weeks behind the rest of the world. So by the time I get my hands on this, it's going to be too late to put any of my real early adopter thoughts. I will be making content on this, and I have a plan on this one to make quite a lot of content from a new user point of view, because I think it's going to bring a lot of people into the new user of drones, not just FPV as well. It's going to bring a lot of people into the drone industry too. So we're going to talk about that. They said about the DJI goggles, I believe nothing in what you hear, I think you see. Believe nothing in what you hear, nothing in what you see, lol. Man, 30 seconds, bright, and just reading down the comments. Eats into, yeah, I will make no money. Look, you know, if I talk about this, it's a really interesting actually, 507RC. I bet that really eats into your potential YouTube revenue. It destroys it, to be clear. It completely destroys it. So, and actually, this is a really interesting subject for me, probably not you guys. There's a reason I haven't covered the Mavic Mini 2 launch, the Mavic Mini launch, and the Mavic Air 2 launch, because I didn't have access to the product ready for launch. And by the time it goes out, you've already got 500 videos. You will see, the day this launches, videos from JB, Nerf, I suspect, those guys like that. Okay? You'll then have iPhondo, iJustine, Casey Neistat, all of the YouTube tech channels covering it as well. JB's videos will hold their own, no problem at all, as with many others. But there are a fair number of people who are going to get absolutely annihilated by the YouTube algorithm, even on day one. Anyone who comes in after day one, it's going to be a complete waste of time. I may not even review the product. Nerf, yeah, sorry, it's the way I'm saying it. You say Nerf, but not Nerf. Yeah, Nerf. I'm thinking of Nerf because my son's had a Nerf gun. It's my son's birthday today, and he's had a Nerf gun. So it's going to be, you know, from my point of view, if I had this at launch, I'd be able to do some stuff. Because I won't, my content is going to be not review based. My content on this product will be educational based, because there will be 0 point reviewing it 2 weeks after launch. That is the issue. So yeah, if I could have access to it at day one, I would love it. I'm not involved in the launch. That's now doesn't look like it's going to happen. I've stepped away from some things, and I've made some choices. Making this video in itself will probably put a nail in that coffin. But yeah, it hugely hurts. But even so, right, even if I had it on day one, this launch is going to be very difficult, because you are going to see them in everybody's hands around the world. They are going to place this in all the big channels. the iPhondo, and all of those guys. Casey Neistat's going to be there telling you how he loves FPV. I like Casey, but you're going to have the people who have no involvement in FPV telling you about this drone. Then you're going to have your certain KOLs in FPV doing it as well. So for me, it's going to be very simple. When I get it, I will make content. When that will be is when DJI sell it to the masses, especially in the UK and Europe. Craig Edwards, going to be interesting viewing. Maybe DJI Crash channels are coming. Maybe DJI Crash channel. Lee Kitchen, shame as you're very knowledgeable DJI. Yeah, look, DJI is an area I have a lot of expertise. There are some reasons for that. I've been very lucky. I should add something, actually. Something was put on a forum the other day, and it's wrong, frankly. I've known about this for some time, and I'm under NDA, so I have to be very careful, but I'm not involved in this launch now, okay? I have chosen to step away for a few reasons, and I have no issues with DJI. DJI have been extremely good to me. I just didn't feel this was going to work based on a few things. And one of those fundamental things is you need the product before launch to be able to deal with it, and if that can't happen, then I'm not going to get involved. So, I'm going to stay independent on this one, and I'll buy it and I'll talk about it, and I'll try to come up with new educational content, not just this is the DJI FPV drone. We've had the unboxing. We've seen that one. We don't need that one. Anyone who's relying on that one, you may as well bin that now, because that's out the door. We've seen what's in there. Now it's going to be how it flies. And that's interesting, and how some of the other big channels will be let down, because you know, there's some great, I'm a massive fan of YouTube. I watch YouTube so much, and there's some great channels. But these guys aren't FPV channels, many of these, and it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. Flight League coming soon. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. I want half the ad revenue, YouTube. Extra. What's Bruce saying about ad revenue? Watch the DJI Freestyle Cash compilations videos. Yeah, So I dare see someone said, Catman, I honestly believe the mass mid-roll ads. Yeah, I wanted to touch on that. So, Catman, did you unsubscribe because of mid-rolls specifically? Because I've turned mid-rolls off, as has Bruce. Bruce did it before me, but I made a conscious choice to do that as well. And I mean, just interesting, was it because of the mid-rolls? Because, I'm seeing it myself. I'm watching YouTube channels, and there's 5 mid-rolls in a 20-minute, 15-minute video. That's a point. I knew I'd seen the name. So, Spider Monkey, you took a copy of it before the guy put it down. I bet he's happy with you. Good man. Have you monetized that video? Just come on. It's outrageous. Fly anything, period, will crash anything. It's the old Blackadder, channel too small. Oh, man, you'd have done well. How many are you up to now? You must, I haven't looked. You must be up to 70k views. Congratulations, you'd have earned a $5 from that. Will dual band be as working 2.0? No, it won't. So the dual band will be one or the other. So it will switch between 2.4 and 5 gigs. Now, this will work actually very similar to how it works on DJI's current ready-to-fly models, on the Mavic and the others. And there's actually some really interesting behavior around this. I'm making a video now on this. And I'm showing you it on a PC spectrum analyzer. And it's really interesting the way the system actually behaves. The FPV system with the way it moves channels and stuff like that. So that's going to be in a future video. Check that one out. Art of crashing without crashing. And that crashing thing, we keep coming back to this crashing thing, don't we? We really do. And I think this is where it could give DJI a real handful, a real problem over how it's perceived and how well the customer service is handled on it as well. It's going to be very very interesting indeed. It really, really is. So, you know, that was the slide pack, guys. You know, that was the, if I put the clean one up, you know, that was how this one was intended to go. I'm a bit sorry we didn't get it right at the start. I'm going to put this video live in a minute, but we got the spec. We then got the V2 remote. We then got the FPV version 2, which we know about already. And then who is it for? We've been through the for, the good, the bad, and the effect. And then it was the problems and the impact on DJI. So that was the slide, the very small slide pack I put together for it this afternoon. About repairs and stuff. Yeah, this is an area I think they're going to have problems. I'll put the go back to number 1. I don't think they're geared up for this from a support point of view or a repairing point of view. Now, I have to be careful here. However, DJI have lost a lot of people over the last few years. A lot of very, very good people. Many of these are friends of mine. Some of them who are still there I class as friends. DJI have some of the most amazing people working for them that I've dealt with, but they've also lost some amazing people. I don't feel, from my perception right now, that they are in the best position to be dealing with the technical issues that will come from this product, from a product support point of view, on the forums, on Facebook, on social media, and the back end actual repair process as well. And I'm just not convinced they realize the pressure this may put on them. I honestly don't. Just reading through the comments, you should be named should have been named DJI Gravity. Yeah, I've seen the name going around today. DJI always have names in the background for their products. They've had some interesting ones. The Phantom 4 was Tomato. The Mavic, which one was Kumquai? One of them was that fruit. DJI often have names of products, product code names in the background. Tomato. They have repair problems now. Does it? It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle this. You know, if you just take into account DJI's current customer service and support is in Thailand, I think it is off the top of my head. So you're going to be dealing with Thailand for, you know, off-the-shelf support or DJI support. There's very little technical, and it's a shame. You know, it's an area I was involved with, which I'm now not. And I'm just not convinced that if this sells a lot and people start screwing it into the ground, it's going to give them issues. And the one bit I said earlier, and I'm repeating myself now as well, but the one thing that I said earlier was this: all of their other products, they've taken away those complex flight modes from you. And this is going to be the first time in a very long time they're going to give it back. And it's going to be interesting to see how that is. You know, look, here's an interesting view on this. Something you guys might not know. DJI modified the modern drones to not allow you to do CSC in the air. So if you don't know what CSC is, it is the command, the center stick command to turn off the motors. So let me grab a remote. We'll use a here link for this one because I can't find my FPV. So DJI CSC, down and in. Okay. This, when held for 2 or more seconds, will stop the motors in flight. DJI had a number of problems with new users triggering that in flight, so they modified the flight control algorithm to prevent you doing it once taken off. So when you go on the Mavics now, there's a setting in the menu that do you want it to be only if the drone detects an issue or if you want to manually do it, but it defaults to only if the drone detects an issue. DJI removed attitude mode. They removed it off many of their products. They made them easier to fly for the masses. And now we've got a product that they want to sell to the masses, new users, but it's going to have this flight mode that could cause the drone to smash into the ground in a million pieces. And you're then going to have the flight log element, because DJI do have flight logs. So you're going to have people then going on the phone saying, I bought my new DJI FPV drone. I took off and it smashed into the ground into 100 bits. I've spent $1,300 or $1,400 on this. You got to fix this for free. And DJI then will ask you to send them the log, and they'll go, sorry, mate, it was your problem. And because you put it in that mode, we're not going to cover the warranty. What sort of feedback is that going to get? Wait till you got 1,000 of them. And that's when it's going to get interesting. And you won't have that with the Mavic. You don't have that with the Mavics at all. Yes, with the Phantoms, but only generally professional users buy Phantoms or Inspires, for the most part. 3 waves. I will not buy one because it's useless, and I crashed my DJI FPV. I cannot repair my DJI drone. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be, I think, you know, it's not going to be all roses, this. It's not going to be all roses for sure. Wait till the insurance claims kick in. Yeah, key refresh. So, will they offer key? That is unknown at the moment. Will they give key refresh an option? They have in the past on their products, but key is it's like any insurance. DJI will make this based on how many they sell. So it's going to be interesting to see if they do offer key refresh. We don't know. I'm expecting yes, but I'm also expecting acro mode to not be included. So we're going to have to see. I think the key here will be how good the failsafe settings are. But the problem is it can't recover itself if it's heading for the ground upside down, can it? That's the problem. Yeah, the original Mavic Pro now and again. But it, you know, we haven't had 570. But what if this happens to do a really good job? Hello, click here. 12 time, please. In the first week, Craig. Yes, you know, we could have, can I claim on my key refresh for the 12th time in the first? Geofence the ground. And that, you know, look, geofence is a whole other ballgame. How's that going to behave? You know, we still don't know. How are you going to even unlock it? Are you going to be able to unlock it? Is it going to have unlockable flight zones, just like the DJI drones? Is it going to use Geo 2.0, where you can unlock certain areas? Perhaps it'll be fixed. There will be pieces you won't be able to fly it. There's a lot of unknowns here. Yeah, I believe Ken, the 2 Kens, I believe, have flown it. So we've got, so I'm going to drop Ken in it. I know Ken Heron knows JB, and I know Ken Heron knows Ken Dobo, who was here earlier. So I'm guessing they've flown JB's unit. That's what I'm going to guess. Or Ken Heron has been sent one, which is a possibility. But I don't think he'd talk about it because he did say he wasn't under NDA. So I'm guessing they've flown JB's. That would be my link. I've seen. I think it's going to be interesting. I'm going to sit back and watch the reviews very closely, and I'm going to be very skeptical. You know, I've talked about the good and I've talked about the bad here, and there's going to, you know, this drone has bad, proprietary, hard to repair, expensive. That are 3 main issues with this. So we're going to have to see how those issues. Now, guys, we've been going an hour and a bit. If you've got any other questions on anything, I might touch on at the end of this stream in a minute. I'm trying to think what else has happened this week, other than an unboxing in Acro Road. Would make sense. Minimum altitude limit would make sense. And what's that going to be? 5 meters, 10 meters. Popcorn for Craig. I'm trying to think what other drone news we got this week, other than DJI leaking all over the internet. Really interesting. I do feel for that dealer. I'm will ever get into fixed wing. Floor flight, yeah, that's a really interesting question. I've hoped for a long time. There's 2 things I've hoped DJI would do. Number 1 is make a baby hex like the H from Unique, the H520. You've made me remember something now as well I want to talk about. I'd love them to make a baby hex. I've always wanted a DJI drone. I loved the H520 or the H Plus I had. There's a video of it on this channel. Really liked that drone. I loved it, loved it, loved it. I always wanted DJI to make a baby Hex, and I'd love them to make a fixed wing. I don't think they'll do it either. Hello, price. I've heard around $1,300, Joe C. That's what I've heard for that kit we've seen. But it you know, look, prices are changing. It depends how much of the market they really want to steal. I don't see this being $1,000. I saw a price of 1,000 being quoted. I don't believe that for 1 minute. I don't believe that for 1 minute. I'm thinking $1,349, $1,399, something like that. Now, this other thing I was going to touch on was this damn motion controller. Now, we don't know a lot about this. Bruce has one. Steve, Bruce absolutely has one, I reckon. He's holding out on us all, laughing at us all, as we all hope. I hope the controller EMTB. I am not expecting the new FPV remote to be compatible with the air system. Sorry. Load your own payload cameras. Will DJI ever make open source drones? You know what? The old... I gotta get my screen bigger. I really have. The writing is so small. Old Muzzo. Will DJI ever make open source something like the M600 size, or are you thinking smaller? I don't know. They seem to have abandoned that style of drone completely. Hello, Uptown. Hello. How are you doing? Nice to see you. The one Bruce has is Vibrate. Alberkin has one. I've seen. If he had the FPV goggles at launch, I'd say yes. That's the key to this. The goggles launch was very much a fallout. Yeah, well, there's a video of that. Now, I don't know anything about this, but we've heard this like transformer sound at startup. Tell your browser to scalp up the font on the chat. Yeah, I need to... it's really small on my little chat window. It's not so bad over here. £1,000 then. I'm expecting in the UK, Steve, £1,300 You know what it's like, US pounds for dollars. It'll be £1,300 in the UK as well, I bet. I'm trying to see I could really do with it at some point making this text bigger on this. Actually, I would probably do it. Oh, there we go. That's better. I know how to do it. I just couldn't be bothered. There we go. I can read people's names now, guys. There we go. Probably £1,300, $1,300 roughly. It's gonna be that. If you look at the price of a set of goggles, the whole kit like that, it's around that money in it. Interesting if you looked at that kit and something is the kit said fly combo, and people are saying, oh, the fly mode doesn't come with extra batteries. I'm not expecting that to be the fly more kit. I'm expecting that just to be the FPV combo, and I'm expecting there to be a FPV combo fly more, which will probably be $1,700 or $1,800. Battery prices is going to be real interesting on this, very interesting. But I'm not expecting. It depends how much the market. If it's going to be sub 100 or not, $100, £100. This motion controller is also an interesting element which does not fit in with this product in my head at all. The motion controller is something I'd heard about some time ago, not seen. I believe it's going to be available with this drone. I just don't really see that makes sense. There are times with elements of this product that don't make sense. Will the drone be sold standalone? I would expect yes, but not at launch. At launch, I would expect probably just the fly kit. But who knows? It depends stock. It's usually down to stock level. That's what drives it. But it'll probably be cheaper to buy it with the goggles. They got the colour wrong. Bruce has one. He has everything. Bruce is an influencer. Bruce is a KOL. No such thing. Oh yeah, no such thing as exchange rate in the UK. Oh yes, mate. It's 1-to-1. Remember, dollar to pound. Object avoidance, yes, front and bottom. It has the OE, just like we've come to expect on other models from DJI. So you've got the cameras on the front. Who else is here getting the FPV version 2? Well, I've not ordered the version. Look, guys, failsafe FPV. I would not order the version 2 right now. Really don't. Do yourself a favour. Hold off. If you're even considering in 1% chance you'll buy this drone, hold off, because it'll probably be cheaper to buy the drone with the FPV goggles than buy them on their own. Should have been red so it won't show the blood. Yeah, it's going to be a fly killer. You know, the version 2, I've got a slide on this, in fact. You know, I'll put that up. You guys can see this. You know, that's the differences between the version 1 and the version 2. There. It is not worth upgrading just if you're flying for FPV. There is no good reason, unless you absolutely have to have this video output. And even then, we don't know that works. We really don't know that works yet. You know, OxySync 2 plus 2.4 gigs, but that 2.4 gigs currently only works with the FPV drone. You know, yes, there's a slight bump in resolution on the display. Oh, sorry, well, bump in frame rate. No, refresh rate. Well, no, the displays on the version 1 FPV Outdoors are 810p, but the video feed is 720p. So the display is 720p. Now, as I've said here, FPV 720p 60. Now, we believe the FPV on the version 2 is 810p, but I've still not seen that confirmed. Something that hasn't been confirmed to me is when you're using the V2 with the new firmware on the air units, which isn't available yet, does it bump up the resolution to 810p? Because that's what the spec says, but we'll have to see. So you've got the displays were always 810p, but the only change between the displays was 1440. They've gone from 120Hz to 144. You won't see the difference. FPV was 720p on the version 1s, and the spec says FPV on the version 2s is 810p, but that's with the same ear units. We haven't got firmware for that yet. Compatible with all ear units, smart, you know, and it's only the shearing. The shearing is what will make it worth having, because you will be able to buy a smart controller, an FPV set of goggles, V2s, for the cost of a smart controller if you need video out. It will make no sense to buy the smart controller for video out. You may as well just buy a set of V2s and sell your V1s, and you'd have spent probably $150 maybe. You know, let's be honest, you'll probably lose $150 on a set of V1. That's it. If that, right now you can probably oh yeah, from a get, well, yeah, when you're doing something like, yeah, you might, but for the most part. I'll show many influencers, no vids, we know both, yeah. Yeah, and I tell you something that's very interesting, actually. This is a real interesting point. The FPV Vision 2 goggles are in people's hands, yet we're seeing nothing from them on this. We are seeing no talk of this 810p versus 720p on current ear units. We are seeing nothing. We had the KOLs who had their initial models in hand, which I've already said have the FPV goggles as far as I'm concerned. Have the drone in hand. Had my views tower week, AliExpress. So Lee, is there any difference in resolution, or is it still 720p? Because no one seems to be able to answer this, or there's no firmware for the air units yet that does that, because there's been no firmware updates. You know, it's going to be interesting. But it's, you know, there's not much content on the V2s. Actual, you know, looking through the goggles, what's different? Can I see anything? You know, we've not seen anyone really dissected the V2s properly. Craig Edwards, yeah, it makes sense, and it might It might also, the refresh rate might help how the OSD looks slightly. No difference. Yeah, it's thing. Something I was going to say, how do you even know if the goggles were getting display data? Yeah, well, this is the problem. How would you even... It's very hard to tell. The only way you can tell refresh rate is with a test. The PC gaming guys, if you watch Linus, has done a test on this. Linus has done a good video test on a monitor. You put something onto display, and it trots along, and you need to do it like that. If it's $50, buy the V2s. What I would not do is sell V1s to buy V2s. If you're buying today, buy V2s. No question on that. Just don't upgrade from V1s to V2s. That's the point I should have made. If you haven't got them, buy the V2s. That's what I should have said. Hey, just woke up. Hello, Barnes 1980. Welcome. Is that your birth year? If it is, it's the same as mine. You probably could. Yeah, you probably could. Yeah, no, buy V2s if you... to phrase that properly, yeah, definitely buy V2s if you can. Just don't upgrade. It's much cheaper. Yes, that's for sure. There's something I was going to talk about then. Antennas. Now, for the guys, I'm going to put this up because someone stole some images from my video the other day. I put a video out about... the antennas on the V2 versus the V1. Now, if you haven't seen it, go check the video out because it's a great video. It's a fantastic video. It's all right. It's a good video, okay? And it has all the info in it. And I'm going to put this up now because I want to put this up because seeing his name when I was 20. Oh, that was what it was. I thought it was a year of birth. And someone misrepresented. He stole my images, first of all, and then misrepresented what I said. He's taken the post down now. He then sort of said, he put a post on 5 Facebook groups, and I answered him the same on 5 Facebook groups. This made me laugh. I got nothing against the guy, but I sort of went, hold on. And I didn't say it was mine. And then he first of all went, why have you posted on five of the same comment on 5? And I was just about to reply and said, because it's the info from my video, and he removed it. But anyway, okay, let me just put this up. So I put this video out talking about the antenna arrangement differences on the V1 versus the V2. Let me put myself up in the corner as well. Bing, hello. So obviously the way the V1 works, it has some level of diversity. So what we have is antenna 0, 1, 2, and 3 over here. Antenna 3 is always receive, and then antennas 1, 0, and 2, or 0, 1, 2, are TX and RX, depending on how the system feels. And the way it works is it chooses which one. Bruce can steal it. I'm more than happy for Bruce to steal it. It chooses on the left side from the front which antenna to use. So it either uses bottom left, top right, or top left, top right. That's either which one of the setups it uses. Now that's the V1s. So when you're using this with a faceplate, you've got some interesting behavior, and it's actually really good behavior, because when you're using it with a faceplate, the system can choose between these two configurations. It will either use the patch antennas for TX and RX, or it will choose to use one patch and one omni. And the nice thing about this is the system can switch between these two configurations depending on signal level. And whilst you might think in this config, well, hold on a minute, it's not using the left patch, it might not need it at that point. So it's able to adjust depending on how far out you're flying. It's using diversity. However, the difference with the V2s is things are different. There is no longer this switching of the left-hand antennas. The bottom right remains fixed as it did before. Top right is a permanent fixed TX. Bottom left is a permanent fixed TX. Top left is RX. So they've gone for a cross receive, Josh, receive or transmit. TX transmit, RX receive. So on the V1s, it would switch between which ones it wanted to use. On the V2s, it's across to TX to RX. Now, this is when it gets interesting, because when you're using it with a patch antenna designed for the V1s, your left patch, looking at it from the front, is always going to be receive only. It's never going to be in a transmit position. Now, don't worry, mate. Don't worry, Josh. Don't have to apologize for nothing. We are all here to learn. If you don't ask, you don't know. It's only easy if you know the answer. Don't worry about it. This is where it gets interesting, because on the old one, when it was using it in the opposite configuration, it turned off the patch, whereas this now is going to keep the patch on at all times. It's just going to have one as transmit and one receive. And it's going to be interesting to see how the V2 behaves with this. Now, some people may find the configuration is better using the left on the bottom left rather than the top if you've got enough cable, but we don't fully know yet. But there is a behavior difference. Now, as who's just said it, Rob Rowe, I think it was. Yes, as Rob Rowe quite rightly says, all of these patches are 2.4 only. Do not install one of these patches if you're going to use the FPV drone. Do not upgrade the antennas if you're going to buy a set of V2s and use the FPV drone, because it won't work properly. They are not dual band antennas. All of these patches, these little singularity antennas, they're all single 5.8 gigs. The craft might jump into 2.4 and you'll have horrible signal. So do not upgrade your antennas on your goggles if you're buying the FPV drone right now. There are no dual band patches out there. This, in my opinion, is going to cause huge problems. Huge problems down the line. Massive issues down the line. Not DJI's fault. And really, the mistake here is making the fitment the same. DJI should have done something that the patch antennas wouldn't fit. Now, really, it's not their fault if people change the antennas, to be fair to them. It's not their problem. Why should they change their whole tooling just to make sure people don't swap the antennas? It'll be fine if you're flying it with just DJI FPV, 5 gigs. It's all okay. But if you're going to be flying with the new DJI FPV drone, it's dual band, 2.4 and 5 gigs. These patch antennas are not. That's not 5 gigs. It's not 2.4 gigs. It's only 5 gigs. These singularities, all of these antennas here, 5 gigs only. This is going to cause some problems. It really is. And it's going to be interesting to see how that behavior plays. People who buy their FPV goggles and think, not retool it. Yeah, Bruce, 100% could have done that. That would have been a very good move. They could have gone to SMA from RP SMA. Something. It is going to cause havoc, because you now have a product that people are going to buy this FPV drone and go, oh, shall I fit one of these upgraded antennas? No, don't do it. It won't work. Josh, Josh said, Josh Hogwood, the thing is, UK rules in the future drones will have test rating, seal by the drone made by device. This could be the only option. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Cover third-party antennas. No, it won't. I wish the antennas were more Fat Shark or even Sky Zone, Steve says. Yeah, it would be nice, wouldn't it? It really would be nice if they were more like that. Lee, surely DJI must have tested and it must be progress. Well, DJI would have tested with their own system, so it would be with dual band antennas. Yes. Okay. So just to, probably to explain that again, because FPV Outdoors. Yeah. If you're using the V2s with the air units, it's fine. Air units are 5 gig, patch antennas are 5 gig, it's fine. These antennas, DJI have shipped with the V1s. This is a V1. These are single band, 5 gigs only. The antennas that look identical with the V2 are dual band. If you're going to use the V2 goggles with any of the air units, the Vista or the DJI, it will be fine. However, if you were then to use those antennas with the DJI FPV drone, you could get real problems. And that's where the problem's going to be. The product you use with dual band, that's where the problem will be. I'm protected against very high VSWR levels because that's what you risk if I go fitting in decibels using. Yeah. It's going to... To be fair, we haven't seen stuff burn out for a long time. You know, you can use the air units without antennas at all. They won't burn out. But Bruce has made a very interesting point, is people who do, it's going to shove the VSWR. If you don't know what it is, it's a radio term. You know, I don't know what the SWR... Do they even look at it these days, Bruce? You know, I'd be there with a meter looking, trying to get 1-to-1. Yeah... This is going to be a big problem because people are going to buy the FPV drone and go, oh, I'm going to buy an upgraded antenna. You know, 10 kilometers is not enough. How far will I get with that patch antenna? It's going to cause problems. So putting these patches on the V2 and upgrading antennas on the V2 when using it with the DJI FPV system will be fine, but not the drone. Key opinion leader. Eat more possum. Influencer is the term I should probably use. KOLs. YouTubers. I don't fall into that category. Not enough people watch my channel. Thank you, FPV Outdoors. That's very kind of you for the super chat. That is very, very kind of you. Indeed. It is much appreciated. I will always try to answer a question. So, dual band 2x4 and 5 gear antennas perform worse than single band. DJI's own specs are no. They're 3 dBi. So, the antennas on both, I think the V1s are 3 dBi. It's crusty old loud. The 3 dBi is the gain that DJI have specified on the V2, and I'm sure they said the same for the V1s. I don't know how they've done it. I'll be interested to see. It's normally a dual element or something like that. Crusty old loud. Bruce is a KOL. Bruce is absolutely a influencer of the highest order. He's a KOL for sure. Okay, so Ori, I'm just catching up on some of these. Do you think the new FPV will be compatible with the TBS Tango 2? No, it won't. DJI's drones. So, Oral T Alex has said, do I think the FPV will be compatible with the TBS Tango 2? No. DJI drones are only compatible with their own remote controllers. As 507RC has said, it's not going to happen. Influenza. Bruce is closer to influenza. Well, I suppose that is a very real possibility. So yeah, this dual band thing is a problem. Now, yeah, 3 dBi across the board. It's going to be interesting. What are the singularities? What are the... let me just... Tracy singularities. What are they saying? They're saying 1.9, and I swear DJI is saying 3 on their spec. But then again, do I believe DJI spec as far as I can throw it? The other issue is there really are not many dual band antennas. Yes, the bundled FPV DJI goggles will be the V2s. With the drone, it has to be the V2. It has to be. So it will be V2s. So if you're someone who's looking to get a set of V2s and considering the drone in the future, it will be cheaper to buy it with the goggles, I would expect. You usually get a bit more for your money in the package. Well, yes, there is that. Key opinion leader. Social media and all of that. Or as Bruce quite rightly says, crusty old lout. People who start FPV with the new FG Jones, should they also start with the simulator, do you think? I think day one, you won't even need to touch the sim. What DJI do absolutely best is making a turnkey product that just works on day one. That is what they are absolutely at their best at doing. It really, really is. They are You won't need the sim. Sim will help with learning acro, but DJI's drone will take you through that. I'm expecting it to be a real life sim, and that is the bits that people are underestimating on this product. That really is. What do I think the bit rate is on the camera? That is a really good question, Ed. I don't know. Now, it's using H.264 and H.265, so it's HEVC compatible. I'm hoping 100 megabits a second. I'm hoping we're not down to 60. I'm betting 100 to 120 is where I would expect. Oral to Alex, if we change the antenna on the patch, on the goggles, when using the FPV drone. This antenna thing is really going to be a nightmare. I could see me making another video on this, specifically for the FPV drone. Can't fly FPV, get the FPV drone. Yeah, Barnes. Absolutely, mate. Yep, or if you're using the standalone FPV system, as Failsafe FPV said, so the air unit from DJI or the Caddx Vista, it's not a problem. VR simulator for FPV quads, Oculus Quest will take 1 more week for release. Very cool. View, send it over. I'd like to see it. That'd be very cool. Very cool indeed. V2 goggles are expected to be sold in the UK sometime March, I think. Yeah, we're well behind on the goggles. We really are well behind in the UK on the goggles. Cool. Very cool. That'll be nice to see. It's going to be interesting to see how the footage looks as well. You know, I am not expecting this to look as good as a GoPro. I will be honest with you. I think, you know, let's be honest. GoPro make really good cameras. Really, really good cameras on their drones. Sorry. GoPro, really good cameras to put on drones. The GoPro series is very good at what it does. I'm not expecting DJI to be quite that good. Good evening, Gary. How are you? How's things? We have Gary here as well. I can't believe we've got 124 people tonight. That's incredible. Fantastic number of people. What milliwatt power will they be on? Right, this is in the documentation. Now, I can't remember off the top of my head. Something that is unknown, actually, is what hacks will work with the FPV drone and not. Okay, and there's actually a few unknowns on this. And what is interesting is, I don't want to say much, but I spotted JB posting, asking the question if people have got the hack working on the current release on the DJI Facebook group. And I suspect he's asking because he's using an unreleased firmware and he can't test it on the public model. I've been there myself in that position. I sort of saw it and smiled a little bit because I suspect he's running pre-release firmware to use it with the air unit with props. Let's just call it a second. And it's going to be interesting to see. So FCC hacks at the moment, the understanding is, and this is from users' posts, because I can't confirm it myself, that both the FCC hack and the CE hack still works with the V2s on the public release firmware. It is not known, though, if they will continue to work with the new firmware, because there is some comments that JB made. Chizzy and bowing out. Catman FPV, thank you, my friend. Thank you for staying along. I really appreciate you coming along tonight, mate. I really do. Stay safe. It's unknown if that will continue with the new firmware because there has been comments. I think Joshua said himself that it wasn't working, or he'd been told it wasn't working. I'm not expecting those hacks on the FPV drone at all. DJI don't really release FPV hacks for drones. We need a new Session 5. Absolutely, 100% GoPro need to make a Session 5. 100% agree with you on that. They really do. But yeah, I'm not expecting the FCC hacks to work. And remember, that 10 kilometers Yeah, it works on Vision 4. He was asking around because I know someone had some problems. I wouldn't be shocked if this changed in the future, though. You've got to take into account we're moving these goggles into a new territory now. Something I will say to you is this, and here's a piece of advice. For anyone who buys a set of V2s, something falling off my desk, do not upgrade your firmware on your goggles when the drone releases if you're only flying for FPV standalone. Do not get the firmware on day one. Wait and see if all of the hacks still work. The reason I am saying this is this. This drone is the priority right now, and there is a very real possibility things will change on future firmware for the drone that will have a negative impact on the FPV standalone. So if you buy your V2 goggles today and you're only using it for FPV, do not upgrade that firmware on day one. Don't do it. Today is fine, but don't upgrade it after today until we know what the situation is, because I am not expecting those hacks to work on the FPV drone. It's not DJI style, and it would give them real compliance issues if they did. Drone Emotion unboxing. Yes, Drone Emotion unboxing. Is that a different one, Steve? It's the one I put up earlier. Is there more unboxings? Have I missed more now? Do I think it'll use the Fly app? I think not. I think this will be a brand new app. I've said that from the start on this. I don't think this is Fly. Grabbing an image of this for tomorrow's toy to tomorrow's news. Right, okay. I think it'll be a brand new app, is what I think. I could be wrong, but I think it'll be a brand new app. Hello, Airborne Pix. How are you? The DJ Crash app. Yeah, there's a truth. Because you've got to remember, at the moment, you're not getting the latest apps. And actually, there's another interesting point. The chances are you won't see this app on the Fly Store either. You're going to have to download it for Android directly from DJI. No, the FCC hack that is there today is very deliberate. That's all I'm going to say. As the person who helped leak that across the world, if you notice, I had one of the first videos on it. I'm not saying, I'm just saying it's deliberate. It's there to support the community because it was felt, in my opinion, I believe the feeling would have been the product would have struggled without it. Oh, I missed that. If that's the case, it'll be Fly then. There you go. If it says Fly, I've missed it. There you go. You spotted something that I didn't. Look at that. I completely missed that. It's on the back of the box. Allegedly, it says the Fly app. Good man for spotting that. Let me just go in and have a look at it. Is it Fly? It says made for iOS. I can't see the Fly app unless I'm missing it. I'm just looking at this image now. It says DJI and it has a barcode. Oh, is that DJI? Ah, right. Sorry, I think it's in the search bar. Yeah, there's like a little search bar below the logos. Sorry, you can't see that. There you go, guys. You can see now. I think it says there, search DJI Fly app. There you go. I got that one wrong. I think it says it in there. If that image was better, I could scan the QR code. It's interesting. It also says get it on Google Play. You can't get their latest apps on Google Play. Very interesting. Good spot there, my friend. Very, very good spot. Catching up on the chart. Mini 2 is still the winner. Oh, I missed the first part of the stream. Check the whole thing out, Steve, if you're interested. There's a lot of info. Sleep at the wheel again. He deserves to be a mod for spotting that. Do you know what? That is a cracking spot. That is some spot, that one. Do you live near Andy RC? Give him a hug. He seems a bit down lately. I don't know Andy RC at all. I've never spoke to him. No, I don't. I've not been near him. He's got a great channel. He really has. It's really hard out there at the moment in the UK, especially. I'd love to catch up and have a chat with Andy RC. He's got as I said, big fan of the channel. He does a great job. I'd expect him to have one. I hope they've sent him one. How many subs has he got these days? Let's have a look. How many subs has Andy RC got now? He's got to have a few. It's far more than me. Andy RC. Let's have a look. I haven't seen his content recently, if I'm honest. I've not had a chance. Yeah, 77k. I would expect him to be on the list of people who get one. If he doesn't, they're being a bit bloody silly. Plenty of UKs on a Sunday night. Just reading down the chats. National lockdown sucks. It really sucks right now. It's horrendous. It's getting to us all. So when the fuck South Africa? Yeah, Mr. Bugari. Yeah, good guy. Really is. I'd love to chat. I'm a minnow compared to these guys. Look, guys. We're not even 20,000 subs. So I am a minnow in comparison to the Andy RCs and stuff. Sorry about that, Bruce. Essex, Craig, lovely neck of the woods. I stayed down in Clacton a couple of years ago. I had a very nice time. Just reading down. Now, I haven't done a new segment this week because this really is the new DJI have leaked a drone. Yeah, it's been really difficult. It's been really... As I said, it's going to be interesting. It's early days. Don't hold that against me. We've been struggling in the UK since, it is what it is. You're trying to remain positive while watching. You certainly do. Right, guys. I can't think if there's been any other news this week. I want to thank you all for coming to the live stream tonight. More people than we've ever had on a live stream before. More of you have tuned in tonight. I really appreciate it. Those who've shared this video out there, I massively appreciate it. Those who have just come along for the first time and watched, I massively appreciate it as well. If you are new here, I'm going to do the shilling. Please do consider hitting the subscribe button. If you'd like to support us, please do check out that button. Subscribing is the #1 way you can support us. It really is on the channel. There will, as I said, when this thing lands, never seen your channel at all. Studios video 2 antenna the other day, the second time here. Welcome, Barnes. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Great channel, by the way. Thank you, First FPV. I've been around a while. I've grown the channel very slowly. Everything I do tends to... Look, it's never going to grow with this idiot in control of it. Let's be honest. Thank you, Josh. Really appreciate it. Horizon Hobby and you came in line for some time, offline for some time. Yeah. But look, guys, I want to thank you for joining us tonight. Wherever you are in the world, please do stay safe. Look after yourselves. Look after your friends. Look after your family. It's really tough out there so far. I will be making more content on this drone when I am able to buy it. The day I'm able to get it, I will make content. I might not even bother reviewing it. I will give my thoughts, but I'm not going to do an unboxing and all of that crap. But I really do appreciate it. As I've said, if you're new, subscribe. Give us a share. Give us a like. Share the message. I tried to put some content out. I blame me too. I blame Bruce. What would I say is the best FPV website? Oscarling. What's his name? And RC Groups is always fun. Thank you, Josie. Yeah, I've had the sedents and stuff. Can't do anything with that stuff. But no, guys, thank you for spending some time with me. Now, this video is actually going to go up. I'm going to take it offline and put it up as a separate video on the channel because it's had a lot of interest anyway. So I will be putting it up. But yeah, I'm going to now try and figure out how to end it. Thank you all for spending some time. Where's the buttons on YouTube? I found it. It's up there. So stay safe. Look after yourselves. I will be live maybe Sunday night next week because of the amount of people who's come to this one. I think we might be dumping Friday night and going back to Sunday night because that was a good amount of people tonight. I'm really pleased with that. I really am. Anyway, thank you. Stay safe. Look after yourselves. And I will see Gary and the gang on the stream on Tuesday night. If you don't know, please check out Gary's channel, SUAS News. We do a live stream. Gary does a live stream and very kindly invites me along as a guest most weeks. As does Bruce from XJet, Marcy Model Reviews. Please check both of them out. They're fantastic people. I wouldn't be where I am without them as well. So that's it. I'm hitting the button. Thank you very much, guys. I will speak to you again soon.